Good morning. But by the grace of God, I am what I am. And I offer no apologies this morning for my race or for my color. I'm glad to be here this morning, and I hope that all of you are as well. I want to say a special thank you to Alwa. She is so beautiful for that very gracious introduction. Let's give her a big, big round of applause. To Chancellor Pagano, Congressman Kilmer, I know in his absence, Mayor Woodard, it's a pleasure meeting you, BSU members, and the entire UW Tacoma community. I'm honored to be with you this morning on the occasion of your 12th annual MLK Jr. Unity Breakfast to share on the theme, Stand Up, Speak Out, Reflections on Service and Sacrifice. Once again, let's give a big round of applause for the Legacy Dream recipients. I also understand that these breakfasts don't happen by accident, and let's give another round of applause as well for those who sponsored this event. Thank you so much. As a point of personal privilege, please allow me to thank my dear friend, my soror and your Vice Chancellor, Mentha Hines Wilson, for her invitation to speak to you this morning. I was tinkled pink and giggly green, you'll get that, happy Founders Day sorors, when she invited me to come and to share with you this morning. I greatly admire women like Mentha because she clearly understands who she is and whose she is. But most importantly, she's confident in her abilities and in her talents and recognizes that, as I share with young people across the length and breadth of this nation, you don't have to compromise to be recognized. Let's give Mentha and all of the young people from BSU a big round of applause. Now, you heard in my introduction that I am a preacher. But I promise you, unlike most Baptist preachers, I don't have to keep you long to leave something with you. Is that all right? I know many of you may have other obligations and have other responsibilities this day. But very seriously, because this is a serious matter, as we pause to reflect and remember Dr. King, his message and the movement he inspired, let us reflect on the universal power of his words and the lessons that we can glean from them today. The substance of Dr. King's dream was simply this: treat me like you want to be treated. It truly is the golden rule. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Philosophically, it's a dream for a world that all people can live together in unity. However, more than 50 years after the dreamer shared his dream, and this year, 50 years of his assassination, America still finds herself at midnight, shivering in the cold, darkness of despair, as she grapples with the issues of race, the issues of class, and the issues of gender for her Black, brown, and poor communities. It's an interesting note and factoid that when the letters of America, A-M-E-R-I-C-A, are thrown up, shaken together, and put back in, they are arranged in a very real, radical, and revolutionary declarative statement about the current state of our beloved union. And that statement is this: I am race. The letters of America. Try it. A-M-E-R-I-C-A. I am race. Now, many of you may not believe it in the quiet corners of your bucolic neighborhoods nestled here in the Pacific Northwest. But when viewed through the lens of bigotry, hatred, and discrimination, let me share this with you. Race still matters in this country, and the pendulum of justice is moving quickly backwards for vulnerable communities, particularly those who are descendants of so-called whole countries. As a society, I firmly believe that we have made tremendous strides. We elected twice an American of African descent to the highest office of the land. And we also elected a Democrat, in the first time in 25 years, in a red state in Alabama. But sadly, my friends, too many Americans are not judged by the content of their character. Whether they remain alienated, living on the margins of society, because they are judged by the color of their skin. They are judged by where they live. They are judged by the country of their origin, and they are judged by who they love. Dr. King said, one of the great liabilities in history is that too many people fail to remain awake during great periods of social change. As a nation, we must recognize that the global village we live in is browning right in front of our very eyes. And if our beloved America is to remain competitive in the global marketplace, our leaders cannot continue to practice partisan politics and refuse to have courageous conversations and progressive debate about the economic, political, and social implications of a growing majority-minority population. This is not fake news. 3 of 10 people in this country are people of color. 85% of new workers will be women, minorities, and new immigrants. And by 2040, my friends, African Americans, Hispanics, and Asian Americans will represent more than half of the US population. In a speech delivered exactly 1 year before his assassination, Dr. King talked about a time to break silence. And he challenged those leaders in the room to do something about disparities in our society. Because far too often, our business, political, and our faith leaders have isolated themselves into insular political and social circles where they have obtained status, Lyle, but lack substance. They have power and position, but they serve no fundamental purpose. Often these so-called leaders try to posture power that they do not possess. They've been lulled to sleep by the pacifiers of high-paying corporate and university jobs. They drive luxury cars, live in suburban homes, wear expensive clothing, and appreciate Ivy League educations. Some of these leaders get so caught up in this whole concept of meism, and that wherever they go, they want everybody to tell anybody that they are somebody. These leaders, so-called leaders, begin to think that it's all about them. But I stopped by UW Tacoma to share something with you. Hashtag, it ain't about you. Because service to others is truly the rent we pay for the space we occupy. Dr. King put it this way: everyone has the power for greatness, not for fame, but for greatness, because greatness is determined by service. Now, I'm here today to once again issue the challenge for us to come together and to find our voice, because silence on the critical policy issues of the day may signal to some that all is well in the beloved community. Now, I joined the nation's oldest and largest civil rights organization, the NAACP, over 33 years ago as a freshman on the campus of Virginia Union University. It was 1985, and Ronald Reagan had just been overwhelmingly re-elected as president the year before. He was leading charges against civil rights enforcement and the environment. The Equal Rights Amendment to the Constitution had failed to be ratified 3 years before, and there was a backlash against the advancement of women. HIV was just being discovered, and its treatment was some 10 years away. I, like many of the students here, was a young, optimistic 19-year-old college student determined to change the world, or at least my corner of it. I was inspired by the historic civil rights work of the NAACP and believed that it could benefit from the infusion and energy of young people, especially young women, and I still believe that today. I remain optimistic even today as I see the growing activism of young people across this nation as they challenge political and government institutions that seem to turn back the clock on civil rights gains. My friends, we must not forget that quality public education, affordable health care, and expanded job opportunities are the gateways for economic prosperity in our nation. Dr. Linda Isham will agree with me that no child in this community should look to the Pierce County Jail to obtain on-the-job training and employment skills. It may be too late for some of us, but it can never be too late for our children. In the 50s and the 60s, Dr. King had a dream. And as imperfect as our society was, we continuously made progress. Now, as we remember his life and his legacy with awe and with admiration, we have a responsibility. And I dare say we have an obligation to figure out how we, you and I, can do something this day with courage and determination to make a difference to move our nation forward. My trademark motto is, courage must not skip this generation. And so, Lyle, again, as I look across this room, and Jonathan, I want you to know that I see you. Young people, I see you. I see you in all the gifts and the talents that are within you. And it's your time now, your moment in history. But I challenge you with this. Let me be clear that tweeting, posting on Facebook, Snapchat, and Instagram are not enough to change the current circumstance in our nation. If you are going to use social media tools, use them to get people out to the voting booths. Use them to get people out in the streets and to the halls of power to have their voices heard. Because, friends, all of you in this room know that elections have consequences. All you have to do is look at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Elections have consequences. But the survival of our very republic depends on our mutual success. Everyone in this country needs real living wage jobs, quality affordable health care, excellent public schools, a clean environment, safe neighborhoods, and a truly just justice system. Pastor Gregory, the silence in America has been deafening. As individuals who feel locked out of a prosperous society continuously ask this question, my friends: is anybody listening? Does anybody care? Is anybody listening? Does anybody care? And in my best Adele voice, I respond, hello? Hello? Justice is calling. Hello? Is anybody listening? Does anybody care? Others are asking this question: when will words become deeds that truly meet folk needs. And still others ask, how long? I hear Dr. King's words echoing in my ear. How long? Not long. Because I hear him saying, the arc of the universe is long, but it bends toward justice. My friends, every time we work together in unity, we get closer to that day when we can be one nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice, not just for some, but liberty and justice for all. That's why we need more men and women, black and white, Latino and Native American, old and young, gay and straight, disabled and temporarily able-bodied, to defend voting rights and fight for full restoration of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. Every day we get closer when we demand a truly transformed healthcare system, when we demand a transformed political system where everyone has a voice and it is no longer beholden to big donors and the alt-right. Every day we get closer when we work with our law enforcement officials and demand that they integrate police departments and that they implement community-oriented policing that values everyone in our society. And we get closer to that day when we truly make investments in public education that prepares all of our children for the challenges of the 21st century. And when we speak up against the reign of terror against our immigrant brothers and sisters and stand with the dreamers who seek a fair and humane immigration reform policies. Yes, we can. And we will if we stand up and be counted. My friends, that's how we make America great again. Not by pitting one community against another, but by embracing our common humanity. And as agents of change and transformation, I believe that we must this day find our voice and work with every segment of this community to eliminate racism, bigotry, hatred, xenophobia, and homophobia from this land. My charge to you is this, that it is your time now, your time to stand and unite together for what you believe is right, despite the personal and the political cost. It may seem dark for some of you, but I believe in that old gospel spiritual, that I don't believe God has brought us this far to leave us now. And so we must continue to work on behalf of others. And our work must be rooted in love and grounded in respect and lead us to places where lives are transformed and healing takes place. But let me be clear that we can't expect anybody to do anything for us that we ain't prepared to do for ourselves. So let us pledge this day, in the spirit of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., to stand up, to speak out, and walk in the light of justice, walk in the light of inclusion, and walk in the light of love. As I go to my seat, I want to leave you the words of an African proverb about a band of elephants crossing a river. Imagine, if you will, that the river is Commencement Bay. There were some big elephants. There were some little bitty elephants. And there were some medium-sized elephants walking across the African terrain. Now, as these elephants were walking, they came upon a river. The big elephants got out of the river and started walking. across Commencement Bay, Iowa. And as those big elephants got part way to middle, I'm country, y'all. As they got part way to middle, elephants are known for what? Their stellar memories. Elephants don't forget. And so someone called up to the leader and said, Sister Leader, Sister Leader, we still have some little bitty elephants still standing on the banks of the river, afraid to get in and cross over on dry ground. Those big elephants, my friends, they didn't call a town hall meeting. Those big elephants didn't write a government grant. Those big elephants didn't petition for a legislative act of Congress. Those big elephants didn't commission a study from St. Joseph's or Tacoma General to study the etiology of the little bitty elephants to see why they couldn't get in the river and cross over to the other side. You see, those big elephants, seeing the situation, simply turned around and got back in the water, and they stood shoulder to shoulder. And when they stood shoulder to shoulder, they parted the waters. Now y'all looking at me like I'm crazy. You still with me? And when they parted the waters, those little bitty elephants were able to cross over on dry ground. The moral of the story is this, that once you make it, and once you make it, and once you make it, and once you make it, don't forget to remember to turn around and get back in the water to help somebody else cross over on dry ground. I wish I had one or two big elephants here at UW Tacoma who are willing to turn around and get back in the water, to stand with Vice Chancellor Mentham, who are willing to stand with Chancellor Bagano, who are willing to stand with our mayor, who are willing to stand with our student union, who are willing to stand and help somebody else cross over on dry ground. What do you do when you've done all you can? You just what? Stand. What? What you gonna do, you dog? And after having done all, stand. Peace and power.